The thing I remember, the faculty and staff here at Eastern made that transition from a military life, and then I had a family as well. They made that transition as easy as humanly possible, understanding that I was a non-traditional student at that time, understanding I was going to be commuting from Lexington to Richmond for classes, and had a job as well. But they did all that they could to understand my situation, good advisors, good administrative support, and helped with the paperwork to ensure that I had the GI Bill and everything was in place and didn't have lapses in getting fees and tuitions paid and things of that nature. The teachers had a good understanding of had to transition back into the full student mode coming from a military mindset. And I couldn't have asked for better support from this institution. I found it wasn't just me. Eastern had a rich history in working with veterans and making veterans feel welcomed and helping them transition back into education, into school again, which probably saw a very high percentage of veterans acquiring their degree from Eastern because of that help and support, as opposed to coming on campus just being a number and no one really knowing your situation and what you were trying to accomplish. Eastern made that transition well for me. I remember my wife asking, well, why are you going back to Eastern? There's University of Kentucky, it's right there. We could have stayed in Kansas and went to Wichita State. But I said, Eastern, I want to go back and finish there. And once she saw the campus and saw the support that I had, she understood.
And I think that that kind of focus and helping veterans with their transition is something that we're still very strong with. You know, you've heard me mention these things to the alumni group, but you know, we've got these 5 points of pride that we talk about, and of course that's grown a little bit since we started listing these. But the Carnegie Foundation, community, regionally engaged institution, the Chronicle on Higher Education, great college to work for, our ranking with Forbes.com, Forbes magazine, U.S. News and World Report, and then the last one that relates to what we're talking about here is GI Jobs magazine has identified us as one of America's veterans-friendly campuses. And as you know, there are only 3 institutions in America that can say all 5 of those things: Ohio State, Tulane, and EKU. Now, we got some news from the Education Trust that I think sets us maybe apart from Ohio State and Tulane in the recognition of the great progress that this institution has done in increasing the percentage of our African American students who graduate, and in essentially closing the gap, the achievement gap, between the graduation rate of our majority and minority students. So we're really proud of that. And then there's another one, not nearly so significant, but you know, we have a bass fishing team. And at a recent competition, Indiana University won, we were second, Ohio State was third. So that's not as significant as those other things, but it's still worth bragging about. Well, you know, when you came back to EKU, that was kind of not just here, but that was a very interesting and challenging time on campuses all over America. And we were reflecting on that a little bit.
Well, that era,
before we started here,
just my last semester here before I left for the military, it was a trying time, I guess, all across this country, where you had many of the citizens in this country that was against the Vietnam War, and some against the war, but yet wanted to support the troops that was there. And many campuses had rallies in support of pulling out of Vietnam. And there was a lot. It was just turmoil all over the country. There was an incident at University of Kentucky with their ROTC building that was burned. And here at Eastern, the students were very astute and aware of what was going on and following the things that were happening. You had Kent State that had a very tragic incident there with students involving the National Guard, and then there was a tragic situation at Jackson State University. But here at Eastern, with those things going on, I can remember Dr. Martin being very aware and very open to and listening to the black student body and what was going on. And it was a little funny thing that happened for doing the Kent State situation. By coincidence or by design, we don't know. But the flag here at Eastern was lowered to half staff during that period of the incident at Kent State. Then a little while after that, there was a situation at Jackson State University where some students were killed, and the student body, not knowing why the flag was lowered at half staff, just knew it was. And why couldn't we do that also to commemorate the Jackson State students? And that could have easily gone either way. You could have infuriated, you could have heightened the situation, but Dr. Martin stepped in and recognized that the students were very concerned about what was going on at both campuses at Kent State and at Jackson State. And I can remember the school allowing the students to have an all-night vigil in the ravine, and had speakers and songs, and the students really appreciated that happening.
You know, Dr. Martin had a lot of confidence and faith in the students on this campus. I was aware at that time all of those things were happening there about the same time, and the burning of the building, as you mentioned, on another campus. And Governor Nunn called Dr. Martin, as I'm sure he did the other university presidents in the state, and offered, if needed, the presence of Kentucky National Guard troops on the campuses to help maintain tranquility or peace, whatever. And I well recall that Dr. Martin told him, says, "Well, Governor, I appreciate the offer, but we won't need any National Guard troops on this campus." And I think that was based in his confidence in the students in our campus community here, and that was a confidence that was well justified. So you're a marketing major. Now, who were some of the business faculty at that time that would have made a mark on you academically?
My experience here in the College of Business was very good. With a number of veterans that was with me, but the marketing classes, and I can remember the computer classes even. We were doing back then the old cards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
we're dating ourselves.
Yeah.
We can remember punch cards. We are really dating ourselves.
Punch cards, and I can remember my first calculator I had, $79, and it was red and with the readout, and I had to have a little plug up for it. But the salesmanship classes, the marketing, statistics, the accounting, they were all very good classes. The people who came through with me went on to have very good careers. One of my fraternity brothers ended up with the Internal Revenue Service in Cincinnati, and the number of people can look back into the education we had here at Eastern was a strong foundation for the rest of our lives.